How's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. I want to thank y'all for coming through. This show is going to be a Trump-related show based on the things that he should be doing going forward if he's going to garner support for all the actual votes that he actually have. We know what happened on the 6th. We know what Mitch McConnell said about him being responsible. But we think there's a lot of things that he did not capitalize on that he needs to get on if he wants to somehow turn this political power that he's had in the past into something into the future. So as y'all come through, make sure y'all like the video. We're gonna have on Mike being the Gone 11. I already sent him invites, so we're gonna wait for them to come through. So why don't you get cozy? We're gonna spend a couple minutes and then gonna wait till we get started. All right, Jizzle, thanks for the $5 super chat. He didn't make me fucking more rip. How's it going? It's Man Tomorrow here. I'm not sure what happened before, but we're on now. For some reason, it just crashed. I don't know what that's about. Hold on a second. Let me try to get Mike and the Gone back on there. Hold on a second. I've never had that happen. I was just talking and the thing just crashed for a second. Mike, if you're in the chat, hit the link if you can hear me. I'm not sure what went on or what happened. I don't even know why it even kicked me out of the last Zoom meeting I'm in. Can y'all hear me all right out there? Hold on a second. Let me send the link back to Mike and the Gone again. Check it, goddamn. All right, we're still trying to get them on. Hold on a second. Man, I have no idea how that even. I don't care. I don't. Don't. I just tried this on this new device. That thing, man, for some reason, Zoom had kicked me out. Man, I had no idea. Was it the same link, Mike, or was it the one that you hit in the chat?
It was the one I hit in the chat.
Okay, all right. For some reason, it didn't work right. All right, so here we go. All right. So, no, I want to thank everybody. Nagone,
Can you hear me?
all right. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through this quick list of things that we got here currently, and then we're gonna move on to having a kind of free for all. So, hold on a second while I pull up this Word document again. Hold on a second.
How long have you guys been on? I'm sorry, I came in here a little bit late.
No, we just got here.
Okay, you did? Okay.
All right. So what we got here currently, we're talking about what are Trump's next moves. We know the things that went on a little bit earlier, but we have to talk about the things that went on like from the 6th till now, because there's a lot of things that I think that he is either willfully unprepared or he specifically have people around him that's not doing what he needs to do to move forward with all this political power that he want to wield moving forward. And I think the party is pretty much done with him, but there's a lot of things that he have to do to remain relevant now that he's not in the White House, that he don't have access to the POTUS Twitter account, and that pretty much no social media company wants to even deal with him or his people, because now these people with all the threats that they used to get away with, they're now acting on them as active threats everywhere. So it's kind of hard for these people to be anywhere online, even Facebook. They used to give these people a free for all for like threats and all that kind of stuff. I just don't understand how he's going to be able to move forward. What do you think, Mike? Your intro? Trump's next move?
Yeah, I think he'll lay low for a few weeks. From a media perspective, obviously, he's a bit of a he's a bit of a enigma right now, or pariah, I should say, and that he'll resurface back with something.
All right. To go.
He's gonna go. He's gonna go back, lick his wounds, try to see exactly what he's facing first, because what he has to do, he has to assess what is going to be coming down on top of his head. How are the various uh, opponents he's going to have out there going to going to come at him, and we're talking about the Attorney General of the state of New York, and Letitia James. They're in the Southern District, and seeing kind of what kind of charges or whatever he might actually be facing, what he might be looking at also in Atlanta as well, in Georgia as well, with respect to that whole voting issue there, and what kind of um, uh, issues that they might come up with. So he's got to get a good assessment of where he's going to be first with respect to these issues. Um, Once I believe he starts to get a good idea where he's going to be there and look to see how he can stabilize himself, he's going to take a look to see how he can adjust his moves to the party and keep his base intact. Um, Whether or not that would have him functioning inside of the Republican Party, primarying candidates and so forth down the line, or will he, start his own party, the Patriot Party, and this kind of stuff, and get moving. One of the big issues he's got to deal with is money and financing, because the big players seem to be moving away from him economically. Money is the mother's milk of politics. So if you're going to properly move politically, you have to have a fairly strong fount of dollars. Um, uh, and that's going to be somewhat of a challenge for him as well. So he's going to have to assess where he's going to be in the next few months, and to see what kind of what kind of obstacles is he really going to face. So there's some big questions about what he's going to be dealing with, and I think some of them are going to be rather daunting. That's my opinion, but he's got to now assess where he is at this stage. That's where I think that they're at, and they would be caucusing on right now. He and his family, and his adherents.
All right. All right. So for my first question, um, outside of legal challenges, which is going to be a lot, notwithstanding what happened on the sixth, but what realistically percentage of the party you think he could still pull at this point for the Republicans and the Democrats? For me personally, I still think he can pull about 30 to 35% solidly of the party overall. I think in the South and more rural places, it's more like 60, 70. For the Democratic Party, I think he got all of the Reagan Democrats pretty much on his side, and I'm going to say up to 15% overall. Those are my numbers. So, Mike, what do you think the percentage of the party that you think he could still pull at this point, both Republicans and Democrats? Start with the Republicans first.
45. You had
45?
40, you had 45% approval of what happened on January 6th within the party itself, based on the polls that were given that week. And so, if you have 45% supporting something as radical as what happened on January 6th, I would say it's a highly likely chance that he can sustain more than one third of the party, if not 50%.
Wow. And the Democratic Party?
Um, he's going to have a small percentage of the party, anywhere between 5 and 10%.
Okay. Okay. All right, to go. Uh, what
I would
percentage
say,
of the Republican Party you think he can pull, and what percentage of the Democratic Party you think he can pull at this point?
okay, I think both of you guys are pretty spot on the numbers in that regard. I think Mike's numbers are a little bit high, but I do certainly understand why he would come to that conclusion. So I wouldn't question that too tough, except that I would say I think as time goes on a little bit and as we further examine what went down on the 6th and take a greater look at it, I think more people are going to be a bit more disturbed about it. Some of the more conservative types, if you will, who kind of stick a little bit more to conservative principles. I think some of them will start to peel away. But in the overall sense, I'm looking at him having at least one third of the party. We're looking at least 33 and a third percent. I would say it might go up a little bit higher there. At least that'll have that, which is significant. That is a significant play inside of the party with respect to certain, how would I say, demographic and regional areas in the country. All right. So I would say, that will play certainly a role, but I would say but good 33% or so there in that range. As far as the Democratic Party, far less. We looked at about 10% of the Democratic Party. Really, Democrats were really kind of with Trump on the Democratic side, really, in the overall. So I suspect his numbers will be that or below. So I'd say anywhere between 5 to 10%, moving further back because so much of this will be determinant upon also, how would I say, the new president, his activity, how well he does dealing with COVID, starting to handle some of the things and starting to give country.
No, we're sticking with
I'll
Trump.
leave it there.
All right. The next one. Hold on a second. Who's that? Oh, Renaissance Man. Renaissance Man. Welcome to the panel. Hold on a second. Let me rename. Renaissance Man, you there?
Hey, my bad. Get my mic together.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go on to the next question. For the next question, what do you think the fallout will be politically for the happenings that happening on the 6th? Do you think he would be charged at all federally at all for that? Any type of involvement? Or do you think they're just pretty much going to leave him up to the state stuff and kind of let that guy kind of get away with all that kind of stuff? Mike?
I think they'll go after him on the state stuff, but in terms of what happened on the 6th, I don't think they have enough to actually go after him on unless they have a full, thorough investigation from the feds and Secret Service. I think it's highly unlikely that they'll be able to convict him on sedition on those based on the surface charges that are there. The speech he gave was not enough. It's not sufficient enough to convict him on.
Okay. All right. On the go.
I think Mike is spot on that. I certainly don't think that they're going to be able to get him on that. People kind of, when they could say Trump came down and made me do it, it's almost something like the devil made me do it type of thing. You cannot say, and as they look through social media and so forth, you had many other groups that were talking about coming down and all this type of stuff. So, they can't say they had direct orders from Trump. Trump said, come on through, that didn't necessarily mean come on down and have an insurrection. So that's going to be very hard to get him on. I think it's going to be difficult. I believe that they will swing at his head on that, and I believe that they should. But will they be able to catch him upside the dome? I don't think so. That's just my that's my take on that. But will they swing at him? I believe that they will. Will they be able to get him? I don't believe that they will have enough to get him as well.
For me personally, probably no on the federal side, but then again, it did happen in D.C., so you never know what D.C. locally is going to be able to do with that. So, or or whether they're going to basically charge him with incitement or anything else of that matter. I mean, that is where it happened at. So, yeah. So, thanks for the super chat, Justin March. Renaissance man, ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
What's up,
So,
panel?
what's
Hey,
going on?
what's going on?
All right. All right, let me go back to the first question, and then we're going to answer the second one. Then we're going to do the next question. The first question: what percentage of the party you think you could pull at this point? The Republican/Democrat Party. Which party? Which percentage do you think you can still pull from each one, and why?
From the Republican Party, I'd say a good half. The reason I say half is because I'm going off that number that said that they didn't see anything wrong with storming the Capitol, which was around 45%. So I'm going to just round that up to half. I think the party is truly split. And I think you still got that populist message in there. As far as Democrats go, I'd say Democrats and independents, I'd say he could probably pull maybe around 15-20% maybe of combined. And the reason I say that is I think you're always going to have your disaffected voters who, for whatever reason, don't like what they're seeing for the Democrats. So they're going to go and go to the other side. And I think you're going to have some who are just misinformed or, caught up in the mesmerization of Trump. I don't think that's going to be enough to be a winning coalition, but that's what I think he can pull.
Yeah. And for the second question I had was, what do you think would be the fallout politically for the happenings of the 6th? Do you think he's going to be charged locally or federally for the things that he had going on the 6th?
I think they're definitely going to try. I was watching our inauguration coverage today, and they were saying, the guy who was appointed as the acting leader of the Justice Department pretty much sent out a memo saying, hey, we're back. We're going to get on top of, holding people accountable for crimes and end the politicization of prosecution. So I think they're definitely going to try. I think it's probably more like I think probably 60-40 that he gets away with, at least on the federal level. On the criminal side, I think the only thing that could really blow it open is as they go deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole of figuring out what happened. If they find some sort of conspiracy where, people have talked about Congress people and those people working together, if it gets back that, hey, Trump was and all these people were planning this and, they have information to prove that, then I think he could be in some hot water. And then I think you also have to watch out for what happens on the civil side, specifically if anyone who was hurt or the law enforcement officer was killed, because Trump, in my opinion, said some pretty damning things leading up to it, as well as you have some of these supporters who were saying that they were following his lead. So,
yeah, I mean, because some of that circumstantial evidence, that stuff really flies real far in a civil proceeding versus the criminal proceeding. I don't think people understand how much those circumstantial things actually get you pretty hemmed up in a civil trial versus a criminal one.
Yeah, it's a lower standard it's a lower burden of proof, so it goes a lot further.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. All right. So for the next question I have here is, what are some of the things Trump should have done already before he left the office? Mike?
Do you mean just before you left on the 19th or the 20th, or do you mean just overall?
Yeah, just overall, both.
He should have handled COVID better. The pandemic was really important. I just think that he had all of the capabilities. They had all of the financial resources in place, and they didn't take it. He didn't take it seriously enough. He didn't put together a squad of people who can handle infectious diseases as well as outbreaks and things and so on and so forth. He disconnected himself from WHO. So there's a cascading effect that happened based on his lack of maturity in handling the pandemic. I think had he handled the pandemic, he would still be here.
All right. All right. They're gone.
Well, you got Mike going ahead of me, man. He's answering all this stuff. He's answering all this stuff correctly. Anyway, yeah, man. Spot on one more again. That's exactly what the situation was. Trump was not did not have a lot of experience in government before. He didn't know how to properly govern and marshal certain government forces to government agencies to get the proper response. Didn't have that, and that's what got him in COVID. COVID was the economy. COVID was everything that was based on. That's what ultimately finished him. So that's spot on exactly what happened to the president. And had he had some good skills there and the proper people in place, because he also had some very poor judgment in picking people. He picked his friends and he picked people that were not smarter than he was. So therefore, based on his extraordinary ignorance of getting the right people in place properly, not just sycophants, but the right people in place, he could have gotten a better response there, but he didn't know how to handle that either. And that also shows some of his tremendous weaknesses in business, as well as we've seen a lot of his failures there as well. So these things added up for him in this office, in this crisis, to bring up a tremendous failure, and the concomitant 400,000 or so deaths that followed his horrible response and his awesome ignorance.
All right, Renaissance man.
Yeah, I think obviously COVID, but I think what's even more damning with what's kind of being downplayed right now, but I think you're going to see more of, is not just his response, but once they got the vaccine, because he went out there today in his final speech and touted the vaccine, and he's touted it before, but it's clearly showing how incompetent his administration is, in the sense of they don't have a rollout strategy. And Biden's already said he's going to use the Defense Production Act to increase the number of vaccines and get it rolled out. So I think, as well as handling COVID, handling the actual vaccine itself and the distribution, I think it's going to look worse and worse. Coupled with, I think when he was going, if he's talking about running again, I think he made a big mistake with the moves he made towards the past 2 months. He was pretty much shut down any communication. We really don't know what was going on, though it doesn't seem to be much. Trump did not appear to be the most hardworking president, even throughout his presidency, but basically kicking all these people out of their role and installing loyalists in places like the Pentagon, putting national security at risk. I think he made a huge mistake there if he was even remotely serious about running again, because that stuff is not going to be forgotten, putting national security at risk, especially during the transition, which is one of the most vulnerable times for the country. So, yeah. Oh, and I was going to add to MOT. I actually saw one thing he did do on the way out, the ethics laws that he put in place in the beginning, I guess, to stop the revolving door. That was one of the last things he did out the door, was flip that law back. So, change the ethics rules. So I'm assuming, if not him, some people in his circle will be looking to seek political office.
Not only office, but can also become lobbyists. I just wanted to add this.
They're gone.
It was a relative point. This is very relative to this piece, and I just wanted to say, medical systems are not really designed to deliver like we would like to have on the vaccine. So if he was really sharp on understanding how these systems work, he would have went to the to Emergency Act and brought the military in a lot earlier. And because our systems are not designed to treat people so well, it's designed to profit for the medical system, not to treat people. He didn't see that as well. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Rashawn, DC, thanks for coming to the panel. Welcome to the panel, man.
No, that's Mr. G.
Oh, Mr. G? How did he get to him? Huh? I thought I sent it to DC.
It's in the chat, too, I think. That's how I got it.
Okay, Mr. G, what do you have on this particular topic?
Oh, my bad, bro. I was on mute.
No, go ahead. Just
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Trying to estimate, trying to look at this whole situation, how it's going to unfold, because um, there's a lot to think about. How he left
all right.
office, how he left office, sort of pretty much tell us there's a lot that we're going to see that's going to happen. Um, I'm pretty sure he's right now preparing for his all these court cases.
Yeah,
He should
yeah.
have been doing that. But I think he left pretty messed up because
All right. We're going to the next question. Next question is going to be, what do you think that he should have done politically? For me personally, politically, things that he should have done is he should have had a social media space already set up for him before he left office. At the bare minimum, he should be on all Sunday shows. I'm talking about Sunday shows of what do you call it? Friendly environments. Like he should have a space on OAN, should have a space on Fox News, should have a space on uh, Newsmax TV. He got to keep them type of appearances up because he pretty much get to run the show whenever he's over there anyway. So he got to make sure that he keeps those types of appearances up before he leaves office. He should have had all that stuff in place. It doesn't even look like none of that stuff is going to be rolling out. So politically, for his actual future, if he had actually cared about that, he really should have had that kind of stuff in place. So what do you think politically, Mike, he should have had in place before he actually left the office itself?
He should have had a media team all set and ready to go. Media infrastructure is very important. And so because he's been obviously barred prior, after the 6th, I think prior to the 6th, even going back to November, I think he should have been working on media infrastructure right away before November 4th. He needed a social media platform that was going to actually be able to allow him to project his voice even further than all the other fragile systems in place. And so coming up with something like a Trump Talk sort of a social media app would have done him greatly, because as soon as he left the White House, he's right back in play within minutes. But after he gets off of Marine One, he's right back in the game, and he's out there pushing his message again and projecting what he's going to do in the next 2 to 4 years. We do know that he used Parler, but where he stands with Parler, we don't really know. How much does he have invested in it? We don't really know.
Yeah, it's just that I don't understand how he didn't potentially go to a rally for himself after he left the place. I don't understand how that didn't happen. I mean, this would have been the moment for it. He would have dragged all the actual news media and crews over there. They would have covered it, and he just had nothing in place. I mean, if you're going to be setting up to where you're not going to be around, the whole idea is to hold your own stuff to draw media to your new space that you were going to announce or roll out. I don't understand how come he didn't do that. Nagon.
You guys hit that right in the head, knocked it out the park. Bottom line, sat there, did not set this up before time. I believe maybe at some level he didn't think he was going to lose. I don't know where his mind was, but this was another terrible, terrible type of setup for him if he was going to move forward, and it left him essentially voiceless for a period. So it was, Parler and these are, being shut down. They're being cut off in other areas and so forth. So, he should have had Trump TV or Trump whatever lined up to go. He's a media guy, and he blew this one. I have no understanding as to what he was thinking.
Renaissance man.
Guys are right on it.
No, I agree. You guys hit the nail on the head. Yeah, They already said, I believe, just removing him off of Twitter, like disinformation plummeted like the week after. So I
70%.
mean, yeah. So it's he's definitely suffering from I don't think it really hit him until probably after January 6th that he wasn't going to be president. I think in his mind he thought that he was going to be able to pull this off. So I think that's why part of you're seeing the just no plan whatsoever, and that just sort of going off, because that was sort of his his what he was really hanging his hat on. And not having the lectern to go out and, pretty much have a press conference when you want to, or, having a comms director, and then, your most effective way, not being able to jump on Twitter. It's definitely hampered him. So we'll see what he has to do. Maybe he follows the guys in this space like they follow him, and he'll start having YouTube live streams, super chats, and start consulting with guys in the manosphere on how to go from one social media platform to the other and stay relevant. So,
yeah. Welcome to the panel, Xantos Clutch. Let's go to the next question. What do you think, or which one of these kids do you think are going to actually run for office? Mike?
Definitely Donald Jr. Very active, very politically astute. He is more libertarian than he is conservative, and so he's a bit of a wild card. And so he can really shake up the political landscape, running off of the griff of his father and in the party itself. He has the support on the ground. He has Kimberly Guilford really pumping him up in the background. She's a good asset for him. She left Fox News in order to jump on the Trump train for a specific reason, because they foresaw that this was going to happen. Either he served one term or served two terms, she was going to be there. They see something on the ground, numbers wise and analytics wise, that allows them to say, if this doesn't work, plan B is Donald Jr. I would say plan C would definitely be Ivanka. Very liked face in the conservative community. She can do no wrong according to the conservatives on the ground, from the male conservatives on the ground and the women conservatives on the ground. And she has that 5% of silent Trumpers who don't say anything and basically pull the lever at the ballot box and will go out there and support her. So I think plan B and plan C, Donald Jr. and Ivanka. Now Lara Trump, she's she's in and out. I think she'll probably serve better as a press secretary or some form of PR relations. I don't see her really getting involved, not in the next 2 to 4 years, maybe the next 6. But I definitely see Donald Jr. As plan B, plan C being Ivanka.
Okay. All right, on the go.
Man, you got me following behind Mike up in here, man. Jesus Christ. Great stuff, Mike. Spot on, which was said once again. Spot the fuck on. That's exactly what the bottom line is. I would add one little piece to this. There's a sleeper that they have in the family that no one's really looking at, that somebody who I actually kind of like, Tiffany Trump, who actually is Marla Maples' daughter, graduated out of George Washington University Law School, very high average. And I believe that she's part of the Trump crew, but a little bit away from them. I think she will come in with a great degree of credibility if the other two are not really able to make it. So I suspect that she will be good. She's a lot younger, so her time will be a little bit later. As far as Don Jr., he's the strongest out of the crew, and he's smarter than, in my view, than Ivanka. I think Ivanka's got a certain look, but I don't think she's I don't think she's the sharpest knife in the drawer, to be quite frank with you. So I think her run will, if she does get out there, it'll be limited. But if I'm going to totally pick two who I think that can be potentially successful at this with respect to the base, I think it would be Don Jr. and sleeper that nobody talks about, Marla Maples' daughter, Tiffany Trump. That's my take on it. But in the overall view, as far as who's going to be out here at the earliest runnings, will be what Mike said: Don Jr. and Ivanka for sure. So there it is. That's exactly what I would have said if Mike wasn't there. That's what I would have said as well. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Renaissance man.
Yeah. I think I already know. I know from reading they've already mentioned. I believe Laura Trump's looking at running in North Carolina. I believe that's where she's from. A Senate run there. So I think they're already planning that. As well as so I think her and I think Ivanka as well too. His sons Eric and Don. I think there's a chance they could run as well, but I think they, depending on how far some of this investigation goes into Trump, I think they could be a little bit more closer tied to, some of their father's dealings and the things that they've been involved in. So there may be some repercussions there, as well as it seems like just from an image standpoint, both Laura and Ivanka have painted a pretty good image out there, have kind of stayed away from not all of the controversies, but I would say more so than his sons. So my thought is that, they're going to fit pretty well in the whole conservative down south movement. I think with Ivanka Trump, I think she's just going to get a lot of people who vote for her really just on looks. And just the whole, she's a Trump royalty, things like that. So I think those two are the ones most likely to try to push for a run. I know there's already talk of Ivanka challenging Marco Rubio in the primaries of, I guess it's 2022. So we'll see.
Yeah. What I have up right now is the actual 2022 Senate race map. This is kind of connected to another question that I'm going to ask later on. But these are the kind of toss-ups. And when you brought up North Carolina, this guy is not running for re-election in 2022, this Richard Burr guy. He's not running for 2022, and neither is Pat Toomey for actual Pennsylvania.
That's true.
And as you can see, 2022, I don't see Bennett going anywhere, but Marco Rubio, yeah. So these are the states that they could actually run in. So, all right. So we'll go on to Xantos Clutch. Which of the Trump's next moves you think would be for the sons and daughter or the kids of the Trumps?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the chat. You all caught me on a good day in which I cannot move because I'm literally sick of my bed. So I figured, hey, let me get on for a bit. But shout out to all of you hanging out here tonight. As far as who would be the more likely candidate, I think the safest bet would be, honestly, I would say Laura. And the reason why is because she's been the most distant from the Trumps. Yeah, honestly, when you see the Trumps, it's usually Ivanka, Don Jr., Tiffany, and Eric. As far as Tiffany, no shot to you to go, but she sort of gives me off a TikTok vibe, honestly. I think but that's just me. But then again, there was a report in which she did get engaged to her, billionaire boyfriend. So there may be some funding in the back end for a future run. So maybe on to something there. But I would say, just to summarize what all you said, I would say, I said Laura and Ivanka are probably the two best bets, especially in the case of Ivanka. She has shown times in which she was willing to reach out and be sort of an ambassador, the good cop, as far as the Trump dynasty goes, reaching out to some parties or just going to some things, not necessarily what happened today, but some other traditional presidential things that even Trump refused to go to. So as far as that's concerned, I think the women have a better shot if they are looking to put some Trumps in order to keep this thing going.
All right. Bellagino, thank you for the $5 super chat. Trump Jr. Ivanka sound like a TV series. Yeah, I mean, they're big names, and depend on what's going to happen in the future. I guess we're just going to see what's going to happen. So hold on, make sure I got everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. All right. The next question I have here is that goes along with the last previous question. Do you think they would go Congress 2022, Senate 2024, or just Senate 2022 and Senate 2024, wherever they can get in at? Mike V.
Got to be 2022. Got to stay fresh. Got to stay relevant, and got to make the move now while the momentum is still here. You wait till 2024, you'll miss that window of opportunity.
So you think, regardless, they're just going to go into whatever they can go into, no matter how it looks, House or Senate?
Yeah, it's about being an opportunist at this point, and his name is still buzzing. The family brand is still buzzing, and they need to take advantage of all opportunities that's on the table. And if that's on the table for 2022, they got 13, 14 months to really get this up and going before they can take a swing at this. To galvanize their base, reorganize, and get back into the game.
All right, Miguel.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Timing is in politics. Timing is everything. So strike while the iron is hot. Strike while he has. The base is still motivated, and they can potentially ride to some level of victory there. So I would say strike while the iron is hot. Timing is everything. Just like like Kennedy back in the day when he ran in 1980, he should have waited till 92. He probably would have won then. But the timing was bad. So you got to be able to time things properly. And that's what I certainly believe, and I think that's what's going to be done. So 2022, Congress and so forth is going to be where they're going to strike while the iron is hot.
All right, cool. Renaissance man.
Yeah. Just for clarity, are you saying they're going to wait till 2022? And are you saying either 2022 or 2024 as far as the run?
Yeah. I'm saying that. Do you think, regardless, whichever one in 2022, or are they going to try to leapfrog 2022 Congress, 2024 Senate, or do you think they're just going to go both for Senate right away in 2022?
I think they're going to go for Senate right away, 2022. Just because the prestige of a senator, the influence that there's only 100 senators versus 430 reps in Congress. In the House, you can have a lot more influence a lot quicker in the Senate, as well as have some autonomy and prestige there, and that's what these people are really about. They're about power and prestige and being out there. So I think definitely they'll focus on the Senate. If that fails, they may have to settle for a House seat, but I think they're definitely going to try multiple Senate runs, either in Florida or North Carolina or both.
Yeah, because a third of them are up each year. Because yeah. Janitor's clutch.
Yeah, I completely agree with the sentiment that if you're going to do it in 2022, particularly for the Senate seats. The only problem is that they're sort of limited to 2 states in North Carolina and Florida. I mean, everything else is, even with the seats that are open, I mean, you can't just put even Ivanka in any random old state. So they are limited as far as Senate is concerned. I mean, as far as 2024 is concerned, I highly would not do it. And I think they realize they shouldn't do it, because by 2024, that gives enough time for someone who can out Trump to shine. I mean, nobody's talking about, well, very few people have mentioned him, but don't be surprised if, say, a Tom Cotton comes up and tries to pull the same strategy that Trump did with the populism and appeasing to rural segment of America, as if they have been the victims because of immigration, automation, and whoever else. So if you're gonna do it in 2022 before somebody else tries to steal that thunder.
Yeah, I agree.
I was going to quickly ask does anyone think anyone can replicate Trump in the sense of like truly out Trump? I have a hard time believing it.
No,
No, no.
I mean, we're going to ask that later. That's a later on question. So, all right, so let's go to the next question that we have here. What do you think that how, along with the last question, how soon do you think the people who are going to be going for any type of office, what's the earliest you think they're going to declare? Hello?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah.
Who you
So,
ask?
Mike,
The earliest to declare?
yeah, declare that they're running for whatever office that they're going to be running for. You think it's going to be summer or by March?
I would say after the first 100 days of Biden being in office, they want to make sure they clear any sort of obstacles that may be in the way coming from the left. And so once they see that the smoke is clear, yeah, I would say by June, definitely they'll make their run.
All right. Nicole?
Yeah, I'd say by midsummer, moving into very early fall at the latest. But they will be announcing certainly after the first say 6 months that Biden is in office.
Nice. Renaissance man.
If there's no deadline that I'm aware of, I could even see someone in the late spring, maybe even the May time frame, maybe even April. Announcing people, because I mean, some of these guys are already starting to campaign. Marco Rubio, he's one that comes to mind. Definitely can see him firing up his campaign as soon as possible, just because he anticipates an early challenge, depending on what Republicans' idea is for trying to maybe take back one of those Senate seats in Georgia. Mainly the one from Warnock, because he'll be running in 2022 again to try to hold on to his seat. Depending on who they decide to strategize and put there, I could definitely see them, trying to get out in front. Just because I think a lot of these issues that come up on in this Biden administration, some of the agenda, I think there's definitely going to be a lot of politicking, and these people, a lot of these Republican senators, it may work in Biden's favor. Maybe some of these guys compromise because they know they're going to be in competitive Senate races, but some people may go the other way and try to double down on being obstructionist and fighting the good fight to their constituency, and turn it into a campaign season super early.
All right. Jados Clutch.
I don't think it depends on a particular date unless there is a deadline. But as far as the timing of when whoever one of these individuals decides to run will announce their run, it's going to be sometime after the what seems to be annual protest and riots of some unarmed individual getting shot.
Wow. All right.
I can see
I
that.
mean,
Basically, pull the whole Law and Order message.
Exactly.
but they burnt all them cards, especially when they let all the Black Order people go. I mean, I think he burned up every single card that they've been running on for the past 50 years, in my personal opinion. But for me, I think that by May they would have already declared. I really think by May they already would have declared one way or another, whether they have a committee or not, or anything else. Uh, I think by May. So let me go to my next to the last question.
Usually shootings happen in May.
I mean, by May. I mean, it can be, I'm kind of hedging my bets for all the months before May. I guess that's a little unfair, but it would definitely be by May, June at the latest. But all right, so for the last question, do you think Trump should form his own political party or form a faction of where he is? Mike.
I think he should carve out a piece within the party itself. I don't think that he has the means to set up the infrastructure for a new political party upon himself. I think that carving out a piece of the wing of the party makes a lot more sense. The infrastructure is already there. You already have an RNC. You already have a lot of the physical infrastructure on the ground. A lot of the same faces that were there with you in 2016 are going to be there with you in 2024. I think that this is the time to start the process of carving out a piece of the party for yourself, and using that leverage in 2022 to get those Senate seats.
Oh, nice. To go.
Okay, I think that he should stay within the party. We have certainly we have evidence of starting a third party. We probably will not be successful overall. And I'm going to go back to President Teddy Roosevelt, who had left office and then decided to come back in and run for office again against Taft, of which he lost and Taft lost as well. But the Bull Moose Party, and that Bull Moose Party was a third party that they used to run against the Democrats and the Republicans. And even though he was a very popular ex-president that had left office, he looked to run again, and it didn't work. And his party, after he failed in his presidency, disappeared as well. So, and we've seen other kind of people trying to form third parties to work. So historically, we have not seen that work. I don't suspect that it'll work this time as well. But certainly, taking the Teddy Roosevelt example, this would not bode well that I can see from a historical perspective, and I don't see anything else that's here currently to make me look at a third party with respect to Trump to operate differently otherwise. So so I think he should stay certainly within the Republican structure if he's able to do so, depending on how, of course, the impeachment comes down. But if he's able to do so, stay within the Republican establishment structure and try to do his business from there. I think would be his best and smartest bet overall. For a few different reasons, but certainly from the historical perspective, it doesn't bode well for him. Okay, go ahead.
All right, Renaissance man.
I think it boils down to what he sees the long term vision. To me, I think he should try possibly a third party if he's viewing it truly in the stance of his kids, being involved in this and really trying to be catalyst and having a major influence in politics. Only reason I say that is you don't see any sort of movement or party that has a strong enough base to really galvanize the support to even really get enough votes to put him on a national ticket. I think if he can find the financing and the support, he definitely has the supporters to build the support and really, truth be told, change American politics in that sense. As crazy as Trump was, the guy got 3 Supreme Court justice picks, got a bunch of judges on the bench. Whether we like him or not, he has been a catalyst and an agent of change. Maybe not the best change, but everything from tweeting and using social media. So I think in sticking with that theme, I think he should definitely try to give it a shot. Like I said, there hasn't been a party that's had enough followers to really break the two-party system, and some people may just follow him on that basis alone.
Yeah. Jantos Clutch.
Well, if there's any person who can pull off the minimum requirements for federal funding, which is at 5%, I think it's like 5% of the
5
of the vote, it is Donald Trump. So he does have enough money. He's proven he can raise enough money, whether from himself, his entities, or his fans, in order to get enough campaign and advertisement and media exposure in order to get the 5% vote of said third party, what a Patriot Party, I don't know. But yeah, do I see him doing that? No, at this point. But would he have much more success than most individuals? I say yeah, because his fan base has shown, for better or for worse, that they are motivated, they are driven, and they believe in his cult. It's called a personality. And we can argue all day about how, well, what about policies, etc. Look, if you can get someone, or you can get people, like tens of thousands of people, to flood an entire city, the center of a city, then you can get some stuff shaken within Congress, even though you may not run again. So I would say just do the third party, or have someone run it on your behalf, be the face of it, have someone do the back work, whatever, it's one of his sons or whatever, and then nominate people who you see, or who he and his party sees fit to represent them. It will be a big spoiler for the Democrats specifically. And who knows? I mean, if it works by 2022, 2024, we can see an era where the Democrats will do the same thing with getting to progressives finally getting a set of balls and doing their own thing and splitting away from the Democrats. Because, I mean, right now, the Democrats have no one to fight. They basically have everything for at least 2 years. So a lot of Democrats, particularly a lot of progressive and younger Democrats, are going to really pressure Biden to do a lot of stuff that he is not, or he will not be willing to do as a centrist.
Yeah, I was going to add, Trump can play on that theme of draining the swamp and they stole the election from me, so I need my own party, and his base would eat that up.
Really? Wow.
I think they could.
Trump was the swamp. So at the end of the day, people will point him out, those, because remember, he is going to have people that are going to actually try to go against him for their own political advantages as well. So they're going to be taking shots at this guy. As far as the Democrats are concerned, they're not looking to go too far left, because they already know that there's certain things that they have to get done right now in order to stay in power. And they got a couple of things that they have to move on, and getting this economy right and getting this COVID behind them is going to be very important. So I think the far left aspect that everybody's so worried about is I think is quite overblown.
I mean, the far left doesn't have any power in this country. It doesn't. It does not. The far left doesn't have media entities. The far left doesn't have a religious arm. The far left doesn't have AM talk radio. The far left doesn't have like, it's just a lot of stuff that they don't. And guess what? They don't have the money. They don't have the money either. I mean, all this stuff takes money away from corporate America. Like, so the far left don't bring in any type of money into anybody. If anything, it really breaks up what corporate America actually wants to do with tax cuts. That's like the opposite. Like, that's why I never bought it with the far left argument, because you have far right evangelicals who wield an enormous amount of power in this country. And it's always laughable when they try to find some far left entity that wields as much power as the Christian right or the alt right. There is no comparison. Zero comparison from one side to another.
Absolutely. And the Democrats are going to have to govern from the center. And that's where the Republicans are actually going to try to shift their game to, because you cannot successfully run a party from the extremes, far left or far right. The vicissitudes of American politics run from the center. So I actually think the far left argument is dog whistle politics.
Yeah, the far left, the only one you can really argue is Bernie. Bernie is the far left's infrastructure and his fundraising grassroots campaign. That's really it.
Yeah, but if you notice, a lot of his positions, he was moving quite a bit to the center while he was running. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's just take it from there. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's yeah, Mike, you got anything on that? Far left, far right kind of thing. Me, I think it's a scare tactic, and I mean, because if the right wanted to take away the rights from the LGBT community, they have a 7-2 Supreme Court. If they wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, they have a 7-2 Supreme Court. They could have done it already. If they wanted to strengthen the Second Amendment so that way you can walk around with a pocket tank no matter where you are on state capitals, they could have done that already. The fact that they have done none of that stuff already, which means that they just wanted to hold power but not use it, but just didn't want the other side to actually get power themselves. So all these arguments that are on the table about far left, like it's not going to get past a 7-2 Supreme Court. It just isn't, especially if they challenge it up that far. So
yeah, and you're right about that, because the far left is just that. They're a bunch of mascots for the left, right? You see people protesting, holding up placards, megaphones, Occupy Wall Street. They're not really impactful on the overarching political landscape. They're not controlling any laws. They don't enforce any laws. They don't. Where are they? If you're saying that they exist, where are they within the political spectrum? They're not elected officials at all. They're just common citizens.
That's right on the money. I just want to say very quickly. If you read Obama's book, of which I did, you will see that some of his legislation that he tried to push through, the problems that he ran into within the Democratic Party were the blue dog Democrats. So I just want you guys to think about that when you start to talk about lefty politics and see where the real center of this game really moved from. Think politically. Don't think emotionally. All right, I'm done.
I mean, but it's easier to govern from the right because they have a hell of a lot of media, infrastructure, and power to bully people into that. Like no one goes to the media and says you're being too far to the right. You're going to have to moderate your tone. Like that has never been a thing within politics in America, ever. But everybody else get accused of being too far to the left for some dumb reason. But yeah, that's just what it is. So all right, we're gonna be able to close up the conversation. Got any last words on this, Mike? The actual conversation in total.
No, I think it's going to be interesting over the next 9 months to see how this all plays out. Like I said, I think 2022 ground game is going to be where they're shooting for. 2024, they're trying to shore up as the overarching long-term agenda. And I definitely think that looking at a broadcast platform such as their own, if not Parler, is going to be something to pay attention to.
Oh, you got any last words, Nigo?
Yeah. If the Democrats are successful in being able to begin to turn the corner on COVID and begin to get the economy back moving, if they can open it up and start seeing GDP move to 6% and above, the Republicans are going to have a very difficult time in 2022 and 2024.
Yeah. You got any last words, Renaissance man?
Yeah, I think Nagone makes a great point there. Republicans are kind of in a rock and a hard place. You've got essentially your party doesn't have a good map for you in 2022. You just lost all control of all three levels of government. Like I said, like Nagone said, I think if the economy gets rolling, I think it just makes and the demographics working against you, I think it just makes it very difficult for Republicans to really find an identity and gain a foothold and gain a foothold again. As far as Trump, I think the big thing that's going to be the determining factor on him and his family's fate is going to be, how some of these lawsuits pan out, what type of liabilities he faces for that insurrection, be it criminal or civil liabilities, as well as there's talk of even some accountability for what he did down there in Georgia with pressuring the Georgia Secretary of State. So I think that'll have a lot to do on at least his future, because they were talking about today. He's definitely not welcome in the former president's clubs, and you won't be seeing him at these events. So
yeah, that's really crazy. Zantos, Clutch, any last words before I go through all the questions with Bellagino and DC?
So as far as 2022 and 2024 go, to be honest, I think it's going to be a bit less eventful than a lot of people expect it to be, particularly once we get back to this economic engine that we had throughout the past, say, 10 or so years. As far as this is concerned, Biden's job at this point is just to right the ship and to keep the ship flowing. There's a little that he can do really to screw up because of what has already happened throughout the past 4 years. And I'm saying this as a nonpartisan independent. And also stay alive. I mean, like a lot.
Yeah.
Stay alive. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, what are you worried about the far left for?" Blah, blah, blah. You want Biden alive. I'm just going to say that right there for all people who are concerned about a leftist agenda. But nonetheless, as far as Trump's future is concerned, look, he's good. Yeah, he'll pay a couple of million there, a couple of million here, and his sons might have to, cough up something like that. But lo and behold, there will be no criminal charges headed towards this way that will stick. I mean, all that rhetoric and all that's just a rile up the base on both sides there. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. Welcome to the panel, Bellagino in DC.
Yo, thanks for having me. Sorry about being so late to the conversation, but yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot for.
No problem, man. You know, I'm just gonna flow through these 5 or 6 questions, and then I'm gonna be able to get up out of here and get your last words. For the first question, what percentage of the party do you think Trump can still pull at this point? The Republicans and the Democratic Party, the percentages, and why?
I'll answer that twofold. I think the diehards, what I would call like the new Trumpicans, he can pull at least 35 to 40% of that base. Very, very solidly. Like, you know, they're diehard. They'll believe anything that he says. They'll follow him no matter what. If he modifies his behavior, not even by that much, but just a little bit, and he plays ball with some of the actual corporate Republicans, then I will up that to like 50 to 55%. Very, very solidly. If he can keep himself out of trouble and play ball.
Okay. All right, good enough. All right, for the next question, what do you think would be the political fallout for the happenings on the 6th? Do you think that, you know, there's going to be some local charges in D.C. or some federal charges from the federal government from those types of things for him?
After today and after being around certain people, it looks like they want him to go away. As long as he goes away quietly and don't actually cause any ruckus, especially during the time of transition, the first 100 days, they'll pretty much leave him alone on the federal side. Now, the state side, not so much. But on the federal side, I think they will let it be. I don't think they would actually pursue charges. If he continues to go the route of obstruction, continue to say that the election was not fair and be basically a hindrance to the transition of power by being a private citizen, then all bets are off. Then they would go into full investigation mode, and then they would find some ways to make him culpable. I mean, he's still up for impeachment also. So it depends. I know Joe Biden, just from his tone and just the administration period, they want to move forward from Donald Trump. They don't want him to be seen. They want to be able to kind of like handle him by disappearing him, if you know what I mean. Like keep him off the actual news, keep him off the news wheel, Twitter. He's already banned from Twitter and all the social platforms. So they want to keep him silent. They don't want him to get any more traction of basically causing any more division within the electorate. So that's what I think they will actually do with him. But if he keeps up the ruckus, they will decide to go forward with the full-fledged investigation. like Senate hearings and all that stuff.
I mean, 'cause that stuff is always on the table, no matter
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
in charge, even the
you don't want.
Republican administration.
Yeah, you don't want that where they will start to actually interview the police officers, get their testimonies about what took place, what they could, what they couldn't do under oath.
Oof.
Mm-mm. You don't want the commissionary board to actually do an actual full stop on the
9/11 style commission on what took place.
On
Nah,
what took
man, you
place
don't
on
want
the
that.
6th. You don't want that. Because now you got people that's going to be called. They're going to pull emails. They're going to pull files. They're going to see who you're connected to. Because all these people, you know, for whatever reason, I know you want to get up out of here, but just
No. This is your portion to talk, man. So
yeah, just to let people know, those were not rednecks out there. I just want to repeat that. Those were not your so-called rednecks out there. I know that gets kind of played up, but those were not so-called people that were on the fringes of the Republican Party. Those were people that devote very, very a lot of money. They have fallen to the conspiracy theories, of course, but those are people that have basically given their life to trying to prove that Donald Trump should basically be winning the election. This is a very serious disappointment, and especially when Georgia flipped with the 2 senators. I think that basically ended the whole, we can flip Georgia type of campaign. That actually ended the whole obstruction for the senators there. They just said, okay, we can't hold that up if 2 senators came out of Georgia, and one being a Jewish lefty, basically all the way left. He's already the most left person that's in the actual Senate House right now. Nobody's as far left as Ossoff. He's the furthest left politician that they have there right now, and the youngest, by the way.
Oh, nice. All right, for the next question, what are some of the things Trump should have already had under control before he left office?
No, I'll probably be repeating some things. He probably should have had a plan for Corona as far as transitioning the medical expertise and the facilities and things of that nature over to the new administration. Shouldn't have been that much of a difficulty of transitioning that information over, where they had to ask to get that information. I know you guys talked about the media platforms. He should have had that in place also. He should have had a situation where he already created a avenue for himself to be able to speak his mind and be able to get his message out without obstruction. And also being able to actually handle his radicals. And he did neither one of those things.
Yeah, correct. I agree. I mean, because if he's a grifter, you would already had a place set up for people to deposit their hatred with campaign dollars. And
right.
Yeah. So for the next thing, which one of the Trumps do you think is going to move into politics immediately?
Believe it or not, I think it's the children. I think it's gonna be Ivanka. Is it Ivanka? The daughter. Yeah, I think she has the best chance. Whether she's going to transition maybe through senators or through the House, because she seems to come across as more of a moderate type of voice within the Republican Party. I don't know exactly what she represents as far as her views are concerned. I don't think that she's hard right. I know you guys already talked about Junior. Junior would probably run because he represents the extremes. He's a lot like his father, but I don't know if he has enough experience when it comes down to the boldness that his father had to use to kind of intimidate folks. I don't know if people will be as intimidated by Junior as they were Senior. That actually caused a lot of the motivation for people to support Donald Trump in the first place, was the actual position of strength that he positioned himself with. And Junior seems to be talking, but it doesn't come off as genuine as his father, and both of them are wolf tickets. If you know what I mean. So yeah. I don't know if the baby wolf will be able to actually sell those wolf tickets like the father can.
No, I mean,
but I think Ivanka. Yeah, I think Ivanka has the clearest path as far as running and being a pretty face and being able to sell the message of, yeah, my father was extreme. She can come out and be critical of him and still push forward with an agenda. I think she has the path of doing that. And people don't tend to look at her the same way as all the rest of the actual Trumps and the kids and things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree. All right. The next question is what offices should they be going into? The con the Congress or the Senate in 2022?
Man, it'll be hard for her to get the Senate. Um, I would say the House. Move to the House and then go move to the Senate. To serving a couple of times in the House. That to me, that's a way of actually transitioning and making it easier for yourself. You can go unopposed in any of those districts, especially one of those red districts that's in Florida.
Oh yeah, easily.
So
Oof,
she
easily.
could easily transition her power that way. Now, I know that they like to go for the big bite, but that may not be the play. Senate races are very, very difficult. You can wield a lot of power in the House. You just have to learn how to do it. I don't know if she can win the Senate races. There's only 2 out of Florida. It's very difficult depending on who's running at the time. They may have a Republican that they have in mind that they want to actually succeed the current one that's in office right now. And that will probably be difficult for her to run against a person, especially coming off the Trump smell that they have right now. So I would say the House will probably be the best bet for her. It did move up that way once she gets a little bit more experience.
Nice. All right. So for the next one, what do you think Trump should do immediately?
Immediately,
Yeah.
he should regroup. Um, this was a hard pill to swallow for somebody that's like him that didn't see this coming and probably thought that there was a possibility all the way up until the 19th at midnight before it struck the 20th. He probably still thought that there was a chance that he can actually have a overthrow or some kind of Supreme Court, last ditch effort. But it's almost like that last call when somebody basically is on death row and the governor basically said, nope, you have exhausted all of your your
Yeah.
opportunity. We're gonna have to go ahead and pull that plug, get Sparky ready, baby. And it was the end of it. He has to regroup, man. He has to go to the shadows. What I would say, the outer inner rim, he would have to humble himself and get some people around him to rebuild him and look at his mistakes. And if he wants to keep his political career going, if he wants that to be his legacy, and he wants to come back stronger and better than ever, then he needs to get around people that he can trust, that can critique the way that he ran the actual country for 4 years, which was not a good way. He did not do a good job of managing the country. Regardless of whatever you think about him, you have to admit that. And if he wants to be able to, admit his mistakes, then he can come back and actually, present himself in a better light to the country and possibly be able to do some things. But it all depends on whether they're going to charge him or impeach him. If they impeach him and they move forward with that, then he's banished to the phantom zone. Not even outer rim. He's in the phantom zone at that point. He can no longer have a political life. He would have to pull all his energy into his children. And I don't know if he has the ability to not look at himself as being in charge of things and being able to actually pour his energy into Ivanka or Donald Trump Jr. So it's on him. It's on him. It's how we carry it, basically.
Oh, nice. All right. For the last question, do you think Trump should form his own political party or form a faction where he's at within the party that he's in?
Man, that's difficult. He shouldn't do anything for the next couple of months, 2 to 3 months. He just should not do anything. He did not prepare for this prior to him leaving office. So now that he's been so against the transition of power, trying to form an actual party right now, it's just going to be in bad taste. People are going to reject it, I think, wholesale. He would not be able to get some of the people that he may be able to get in a later fraction. So do I think he should immediately start up his own party? No, I think he should disappear for a while and regroup. Do I think he has a chance to reformate the party, like 2022, 2023, and basically come out with a new vision and a branch of the Republican Party? Yes, he could do that. But like I said, it would take him to do something that he's not known to do, which is to humble himself and to listen to people that he trusts and take their advice.
All right, man. So any last words based on what you just was part of, right?
Yeah, man. My last words is for all the brothers. I mean, everybody here, we pretty much been reading the chessboard as is. I don't know it's everybody's politics here, but I do know that you guys and you brothers basically are realist when it comes down to the political game and very astute at that. And I would just say, man, for the brothers that are very, very opposed to this type of thinking or review or even rhetoric, or not rhetoric, but conversation, just understand what reality is, man. I mean, take a look at what it is now. How do you move forward? The thing that you said it wasn't going to happen has happened. It is a reality. We are in the 20th. It is no longer president-elect. It's no longer to get the steal. Joe Biden is now our president. Not just mine. He's yours too. Just like Donald Trump was our president. What are you prepared to do? And I'll end it with that.
Yeah, it's just that what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about it on I think Saturday night, so that way we can set down some stakeholders in the ground because we're early enough in the process to where we can see whether or not people want to actually be a part of the political process or just continue to be a culture warrior on the sideline. Because still, the talk about women is the premier, I guess, thing for the manosphere currently. But we cannot allow these people to come back to the political game just like they did in the summer, or at worst, some people 2 weeks before the actual election and continue to try to grift from that going forward. Because that's a hard place to be right now. Because we got to stop people from bringing up how they're fiscally conservative and how they don't want to do all this stuff, man. We shutting all that stuff down. Like we're not even allowing people to come out of their mouth. It's like you need to stay over there and talk about women because that's where your strong suit's at. But don't open your mouth about any of this other stuff. Stay over there with your folks. Don't come out your hiding hole because we're going to ask you what you've been doing to read up on the political process, what you've done to study about the things within your area, what are you actually organizing, what type of packs you're actually donating to, and what time that you're putting in. This whole thing about this political ignorance for black men, hey, that stuff's over, man. And I'm just gonna start calling people out by name whenever they start trying to wade in back into the actual fray. We got too many grifters around here as it is. We don't need to be adding any more to it. So, with that said, I want to thank all the panelists for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a really nice night. Thanks for coming out.